So when it comes to value flagship phones, OnePlus and iQOO have always been the number 1 or the number 2 brand in the last couple of years, and this rivalry has only reached new heights this year with these two phones, the OnePlus 12 and the iQOO 12. As always, the iQOO 12 is super aggressively priced, starting at just 51,000 rupees in India, while the OnePlus 12 feels like the most complete flagship phone OnePlus has ever made, although it's roughly 20% more expensive than the iQOO 12. So the question has to be asked, which of these is actually closer to a flagship phone? Should you get the OnePlus 12 by spending a little more, or does the iQOO 12 make more sense instead? And after closely testing these two for a couple of days now, I am finally ready to share my full findings and help you make the right decision regarding which phone to buy. So let's begin. Alright, so as you can see, the OnePlus 12 and the iQOO 12 have very different, distinct visual aesthetics, and they feel quite different in the hands too. With the OnePlus 12, you're getting a soft matte finish, and it feels incredible to touch and super incredible to hold. Whereas iQOO has gone with this enamel glass texture, which has really grown on me. But even though these two phones have similar dimensions and everything, the OnePlus 12 feels significantly more comfortable in my hand. That's because unlike the iQOO 12, whose frames are completely flat on all four sides, the OnePlus 12 has a subtle curve at the back as well as on the front, which help a lot with the grip. There are also a few other design wins on the OnePlus 12 that I really love, including the alert slider, which has been conveniently moved to the left, the in-display fingerprint reader that's in a much more comfortable spot now, and the updated USB 3.2 port that lets me copy files at ridiculously faster speeds than on the iQOO 12, or even connect an external 4K display. But I am a little bummed to see that neither of them bring a IP68 dust or water resistance. Instead, the iQOO 12 has an IP64 and the OnePlus 12 has an IP65 rating, which technically means the OnePlus 12 has a better chance of surviving water sprays, but they're functionally the same in real life scenarios. Which reminds me, the OnePlus 12 has this Aqua Touch feature that basically lets me interact with the display, including typing and stuff, even when the display is wet. The iQOO 12 actually also has a similar feature called Wet Touch, but I found it to be nowhere near the OnePlus 12 in terms of touch responsiveness and all. As for the displays, the OnePlus 12 uses BOE's new X1 panel, while the iQOO 12 has the Visionox 80 OLED display, and right off the bat, let me just say that these are fantastic screens to look at. The iQOO 12's white balance was a little off in my unit by default, but I more or less solved it by tweaking the color temperature settings a little. Other than that, the OnePlus 12 and the iQOO 12 have some of the most feature-rich screens you can find on a smartphone in 2024. From 10-bit colors to a sharper resolution, higher brightness levels, and LTPO 4.0 tech that brings down the refresh rate to as low as 1 Hz to save power, they have got it all. Both of them also feature 2160Hz PWM dimming, so if you're sensitive to display flickering at low brightness levels, that's not going to be a headache here, literally. But like in the design department, the OnePlus 12 once again outplaces the iQOO 12 when it comes to the display in a couple of ways. First of all, the OnePlus 12 screen can get relatively bright for better visibility outdoors. I don't mean to say that the iQOO 12 does not stay legible under the sun, definitely not, but the OnePlus 12 has a slight edge anyway. And unlike the iQOO 12, it also supports Dolby Vision playback. The speakers on these two phones are tuned rather differently. The OnePlus 12 sounds fuller to my ears, but also a bit muffled when I'm playing something with a lot of changes in dynamics, while the iQOO 12 gets louder and has more prominent mid-range and treble reproduction instead of bass. Anyway, getting back to the display, the OnePlus 12 even has the latest Gorilla Glass Victus 2 protection up front, alongside good old Gorilla Glass Victus at the back, whereas the iQOO 12 has nothing of that sort. But credit where credit's due, I've been rocking the iQOO 12 without a screen protector all this time, and its Scotch Sensation glass has held up very nicely so far. Oh, and one more thing, the iQOO 12 does not really have 144 refresh rate either. It does climb up to 144 Hz in a couple of benchmarking apps and games, but that's pointless in my opinion. I guess the only thing I'm not too thrilled about the OnePlus 12's display is that it's curved on the sides. I haven't had accidental touches while typing or scrolling, but it is a bit frustrating while gaming. That being said, the OnePlus 12's haptics is out of this world. The iQOO 12 also has sharp, precise vibration when you're typing and everything, yes, but the way OnePlus has optimized haptic feedback to be a part of the entire UI is just incredible. Okay, so let's talk about performance now, and as you would expect, the OnePlus 12 and the iQOO 12 are as flagship as they get in terms of the latest and greatest hardware. From the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip to the fastest memory and fastest storage, you name it, they just have it. Both of them boast substantially larger vapor chambers to get rid of the heat as well, but in all of my tests, the iQOO 12 finished cooler than the OnePlus 12, be it in gaming or even when I recorded 4K video for an hour straight from these two phones. And talking about gaming, despite the temperature difference, I found the actual FPS throughput to be quite similar on either of these devices. Whether that's PUBG Mobile at 90 FPS or Genshin Impact at the highest graphic settings. Then there are a bunch of really specific gaming features on both of these phones, although I think the ones available on the iQOO 12 like motion control and skill-based in-game vibration are just something else entirely. That being said, I am more fond of OnePlus 12's software experience overall. I absolutely agree that FontouchOS 14 has gotten notably better in terms of things like design, memory management, etc., but it's just not enough. Not enough to catch up to the competition, let alone suppress them. It still ships with a ton of useless bloatware apps, and the whole thing feels very under-designed to me. Whereas OnePlus's Oxygen OS 14 has matured a lot over the years to become a reliable daily driver. It has a healthy balance of useful features and customizability that I really dig, even though Android 14's lock screen customizability is surprisingly missing on this phone. OnePlus is also committing to 4 generations of OS and 5 years of security updates for this guy, which is exactly a year more than what you get on the iQOO 12. The OnePlus 12 also has a little larger 5400 mAh battery than the iQOO 12's 5000 mAh unit, so I was expecting it to have a somewhat better battery backup, but no. Things were neck and neck between the two. Their charging speed is also quite similar, although I want to give a quick shout out to iQOO since its charger supports up to 65 watt of power delivery charging as well. The OnePlus 12, however, can now fill up wirelessly at up to 50 watt, unlike the iQOO 12, which does not have wireless charging support altogether. Finally, it's time to talk about the cameras, and both OnePlus and iQOO have gone big in terms of cameras this time. The OnePlus 12 now uses a 50 megapixel Sony LYT808 main sensor alongside a 48 megapixel ultrawide and a 64 megapixel telephoto zoom lens capable of 3x optical zoom. The iQOO 12's got the same telephoto camera too, but it uses a slightly larger 50 megapixel OV50H main camera and a 50 megapixel ultrawide angle lens. So if you watched my OnePlus 12 versus S24 Ultra comparison video, you already know that I was really impressed with the OnePlus 12's cameras. And compared to something in its own price category, I've got to say I am leaning towards the OnePlus 12 in general as well. The iQOO 12's cameras are a close second, but its biggest kryptonite seems to be maintaining consistent camera experience across the board. Take daytime shots for example. In good lighting conditions, I have no problem with what either of these phones manage. There's an ample amount of details, the dynamic range is well taken care of, all that is great. The OnePlus 12 does shoot a bit brighter, a bit warmer photos compared to the slightly reddish tint that the iQOO 12 prefers, although I can live with it, I have to say. But when I put these two in some challenging conditions, I found the iQOO 12 to be struggling quite a bit, especially in high dynamic range scenarios, as it almost completely crushes the shadow details, while that's not the problem for OnePlus 12. I also noticed how iQOO tends to crank up the contrast, which does look good when I'm shooting close-up subjects, but I wish that was a bit more consistent too. It's all the same if you look at the ultra-wide-angle shots. The OnePlus 12 handles dynamic range, exposure levels slightly better, and it also captures a wider field of view. The 3x zoom shots from both the phones are pretty similar though. I did find that iQOO adds a bit of artificial sharpening in the zoom shots to make them appear more detailed, but that's not a huge issue. And just like in daytime conditions, the OnePlus 12's low light shots are once again on the warmer and brighter side. This kind of color processing does work in its favor at times, but iQOO 12's white balance is also pretty great when it gets dark. The one thing I'd like to suggest to you is that don't bother with the night mode altogether on the iQOO 12 since it actually delivers worse overexposed images most of the time. But when it comes to human subjects, it seems that the OnePlus 12 has some catching up to do, particularly in terms of selfies, as the iQOO 12's photos have a better processing in basically everything, from subjects, facial tone, highlight control, colors, everything. OnePlus does have a wider field of view, but that's the bottom of the list when I'm judging the quality of a selfie. I think iQOO's mainstream type of tuning with brighter faces, a bit smoothened skin tone for portraits, is also going to sit nicely with most folks. For me personally, the OnePlus 12's portrait shots look good too, so I guess it ultimately narrows down to personal preference. Although I wished both OnePlus and iQOO had gone with a 5x telephoto camera instead of 3x for better portraits. Just so you know, I took all these shots under the natural mode on the iQOO 12, which dials down the saturation and contrast levels. And on that note, let me just say that iQOO's camera app is actually a bit more intuitive and easy to get around for casual users. I especially like how it lets me adjust two of the most important settings, color and exposure values, on the fly. Not just that, but iQOO 12's shutter speed is actually pretty impressive. There's even a separate snapshot mode for even shorter shutter lag, while the OnePlus 12 shutter lag can result in blurry images whenever you're shooting some subjects or taking pictures back to back. As for videos, you can shoot at up to 4K 60 FPS from all three cameras at the back on both the phones, and for the price, I'm really happy with the stabilization and the overall video quality at 4K 30 FPS from both of them, be it during daytime or nighttime. I did notice that the OnePlus 12 tends to preserve exposure and dynamic range a bit better, but I'm sure you'll be happy with iQOO's videos as well. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about the selfie videos. That's still just limited to 1080p 30 FPS on the iQOO 12, that too with subpar stabilization. To compare, the OnePlus 12 shoots much better videos from its front camera even at 4K 30 FPS. Alright, so that was all for my super detailed comparison between the OnePlus 12 and the iQOO 12. For what it's worth, both of these are excellent flagship killers that anyone should look into this year, especially if you don't want to splurge all your money on proper flagship phones, like the S24 Ultra or the iPhone 15 Pro Maxes of the world. And after all my tests, I found the clear target demographics for these two. So if you want the absolute killer gaming phone, then the iQOO 12 is easily the way to go since it has the best FPS performance per dollar spent. Whereas paying like 10,000 rupees extra, you get almost a complete package with the OnePlus 12. It has a much better software experience, better haptics, fingerprint sensor, and a more reliable set of cameras above everything else. Plus, with OnePlus, you also get two more things: brand recognition and resale value. So paying extra for the OnePlus 12 is totally worth it in my opinion. Okay, so that was all for this video. I hope this was useful for you to make your purchase decision, and if it was, don't forget to hit the like button, and while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. Saying this, I'm Pratima and thank you so much for watching.